Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so glad you're joining us today. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we're taking a hammer to one of the biggest misconceptions in sports. Look, if you've ever stepped onto a tennis court, you've probably felt that crazy, overwhelming urge to just crush the ball, right? Just swing as hard as humanly possible and pray it magically lands in. But what we're looking at today reveals a completely different reality. We're opening up the Smart Tennis Player's Playbook to see why winning, well, it's actually way less about raw power and entirely about strategic habits. So, take a quick second. Think about your own game, or even just what you see when you're watching the pros on TV. Is raw power or just natural talent really enough to win consistently? I mean, we all kind of fall into this trap, right? Thinking that if we just hit the gym a little more or swing the racket a little faster, the points are just going to naturally follow. But actually, relying strictly on those natural gifts, that might literally be the very anchor holding you back from your true potential on the court.
Okay, let's move into Section 1, Beyond Power and Talent.
So as you can see here, there's a pretty stark contrast in how players approach the game. On the left side, you've got the trap, relying solely on brute strength or raw talent. And sure, blasting a winner feels amazing in the short term, but honestly, it's incredibly limiting. But look at the right side. This is the solution, building great habits to actually win points. The data completely dismantles the myth that you need to be the absolute biggest or strongest player out there. It's actually the gears turning in your head, not just the muscles in your arm that put numbers on the scoreboard. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us right to Section 2, the 5 winning habits.
All right, here's our roadmap for this section. Smart tennis players actually win more points by doing 5 very specific things: staying calm, moving early, watching the ball carefully, choosing high-percentage shots, and learning from every mistake. The big takeaway here is that winning points isn't some kind of magic trick. It's the direct result of executing these exact physical and mental habits in sequence. So let's break down exactly how this whole shebang works together. Starting off with habit 1, staying calm under all circumstances. Listen, everything starts right here. Before you can even think about taking a physical swing, you absolutely need the right mental foundation. Because think about it, if you panic, what happens? Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense right up, and this instinctual, reckless power just takes over. Staying emotionally grounded, literally breathing through the pressure, that is the absolute prerequisite for every single point you play. Moving on to habit 2, moving early to prepare for the ball. This is where you translate that mental calmness we just talked about into actual physical preparation. It's all about anticipating the play and getting your feet into position way before the ball even arrives, which means you never have to panic. When your body is already perfectly aligned to address that incoming shot, the urge to take a wild, desperate swing just completely disappears. And that naturally leads us to habit 3, watching the ball carefully. Now, I know it sounds incredibly basic, right? But doing this right demands this intense, almost laser-like visual focus. It's like having crosshairs in your mind. The smart players don't just casually glance over at the ball. They track it all the way into the racket strings. This kind of visual discipline guarantees clean contact, and it completely eliminates that amateur habit of just swinging at empty space and, well, hoping for the best. All right, habit 4 brings in a major strategic element: choosing high-percentage shots. Basically, this means actively selecting strategic, reliable options over those risky, power-heavy attempts. This literally hits the nail on the head when we talk about the difference between an amateur and a really smart player. A smart player is not going to go for that flashy, impossible highlight reel winner if the risk is too high. Instead, they make these calculated, safe choices that keep them firmly in the driver's seat for the entire rally. And finally, we have habit 5, learning from every single mistake. Look, nobody plays a perfect match, right? It just doesn't happen. But a smart player brings this incredible mindset of continuous learning to the court. Instead of, throwing their racket or completely abandoning their game plan when they lose a point, they use that error as pure data. Literally, every single mistake gets processed and fed right back into their internal system, which ensures they don't make the exact same error twice. Now let's dive into Section 3, performing under pressure. So let's look at how all of this actually builds a massive advantage for you. The source material highlights a really profound truth here. The actual outcomes of great habits are consistency, confidence, and smarter decision-making. By stacking those 5 habits we just went through, you aren't just out there hitting a fuzzy yellow ball anymore. You are building this impenetrable, brick-by-brick mental foundation. And trust me, you are going to need that foundation for the ultimate test: pressure. I want you to think about how your own game holds up when the score is tied, the match is totally on the line, and all eyes are on you. Typically, in those exact moments, raw power and natural talent just evaporate. Poof, gone. But those great habits we just analyzed, they act like a shield. They are literally the only thing keeping you from collapsing when the stakes are at their absolute highest. As this quote perfectly sums up, great habits build consistency, confidence, and smarter decision-making under pressure. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that elite composure, it isn't just some genetic gift you're born with. No way. It is a built habit. You actually construct your ability to handle stress by committing to this process day in and day out. All right, let's head into our final part, Section 4, the fast track to improvement. Here's the harsh reality. If you rely only on brute strength or raw talent, you're going to improve slowly, and you will eventually hit a brick wall. Why? Because physical gifts always plateau. But shifting your focus changes everything. As you see on the right, you start improving faster by building great habits. These habits help players improve faster without relying only on power or talent. By adopting the Smart Player Playbook, your upward trajectory becomes like a rocket. It's much steeper and vastly more sustainable over the long haul. So, this leaves us with one incredibly important question to wrap things up. Will you rely on talent, or will you choose to be smart? Think about it. The next time you step onto that court, are you going to just try to hit the ball harder, or are you going to actively execute the habits that actually win matches? The data is crystal clear on this one. Strategy over brute force is the ultimate playbook. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there and play smart.